In this video, I'm going to show you the top 5 most commonly asked questions in Foot Locker interviews and help you plan brilliant answers to these that will help get you a job at Foot Locker. So the first question you need to know how to answer is, what times would you be available to work at Foot Locker? And they're going to be really interested in this answer, and it is very easy to answer it badly. The key to success here is to focus on what you can do and have a really positive, strong answer. So I'm going to show you what you can say to score as high as possible. So the first thing you want to do is think about what Foot Locker actually wants. Imagine if you owned the store, what sort of answer would you want? And you're wanting to hire people that have as much availability as possible, that are going to work with you, that are going to be flexible. That's what you're looking for, and that's why they ask it. The next thing you want to do is to show off as much flexibility as you can. Then you want to try and say yes to as much as possible. If they ask you about a specific time, they say, could you work this time? Could you work this time? They're asking for a reason. If those are times that you can't work, then you do have to say that. However, if they are asking about specific times, there's a reason behind that. They want to know those times because they're looking for people at that time. So you want to try as hard as you can to say yes as much as possible. And then you want to show some commitment to your job. The worst way that you can answer this is by immediately going and saying, I can't work this time, this time, this time, and this time, and giving them a list of times that you can't work, and then saying, I can work all the other times. Even if it's only a few times that you're blanking out, it's a very negative way to answer this question, and you're just giving them a reason not to hire you. So don't go in to this question talking about all the times that you can't do. Focus on what you can do. Then, to get the best score, try and include as many of these top answers as you can. So the best possible answer, and if you can say this, do. I can work the full range of Foot Locker opening hours. You can't get a stronger answer than that, because they don't need people to work there when the store is closed. So you're saying I can work anytime it's open. Best answer. The next thing you can say is, I am open to overtime or extra hours if needed. There may be no scope for extra hours, but if that's something you want, you would get paid more, and it's nice to volunteer that. You could say, I can work at short notice if needed. That's showing some extra flexibility and showing that you're someone's going to be more helpful to the company. And then you can say, I'm happy to work a variety of shifts to meet business needs. These are all great little sentences that you can use in your interview. So pick as many of those as you can, be really positive, focus on what you can do, and you'll get the highest score you can on this question. The next one you need to be prepared for is, what can you tell me about Foot Locker? And if you go to a Foot Locker interview and you're asked about the company and you can't talk about it, you're not going to do well. You've got to have good knowledge of the company. So the way you answer this is, you start with a really obvious fact. Start in the middle of that diagram, move out the way. Then you're going to show that you've actually done some research. And then, to have an impressive answer, you're going to have to drop in some extra facts, things that only people who've actually done lots of research would actually know. And the good news for you is, I've actually done this research for you, and we're going to present loads of facts that you can take to your interview. Feel free, once I've got everything up on the screen, to screenshot it and learn it, or take some notes, and it will give you the facts that you can talk about in your interview. So the first thing you say is, it is a sportswear and footwear retailer. That's what they do. They sell sportswear, predominantly footwear. That is their business. They are led by the Nike brand, so they get about 70% of their sales from that brand. That's very, very popular. They have very high profile stores. If you look at the designs of their stores, they're very striking. They grab people's attention and they pull people in. They are multi-channel, so they sell online and they sell in stores, and those two work together. They have a big social media presence. They are multi-brand, so it's not just Foot Locker. They've got Eastbay, Champs, and Kids Foot Locker, among other brands, so I'd have an awareness of the other brands that they currently own. They have very, very high sales per square foot. So that means if you take 1 square foot of the store and you work out how much sales each square foot is generating, it's a very high number. They have fairly small stores, but are making lots of money even though they're fairly small. They are trying to provide a great in-store experience. So when you go into a store, it's quite striking, it's quite impressive. They've got great artwork. They've got all these different features to get you in and get you engaged with the store. They have very distinctive uniform. The striped uniforms are very striking and they get people's attention. They have expanded internationally. They're not just in the US. They've expanded to lots of other countries, and it's a very fast growing business. They originally started all the way back with the FW Woolworth Company, and then they formed as their own brand in around 1974 and have been growing ever since. They're now listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They're separate from the Woolworth Company, and they are their own business doing very well. And they also do support a lot of charity. And I would recommend that before your interview, you read up on what charities Foot Locker is currently supporting and how much they have raised. That's also a good thing to mention. My top tip to really understand the business is to read their annual report, because that actually explains what their strategy is, what their business is doing, how they're growing, and what they're trying to offer customers. And then they have some really quite nice investor presentations. So you're probably not planning on investing in the company, but if you just type in Foot Locker investor presentation, Foot Locker annual report, and have a read through those, you will get the best information you'll find anywhere about the company. It will be the bosses of the company telling you exactly what the company's doing, what their strategy is, and it gives you a brilliant insight into the company. So that's how you go super prepared. And if you do read the annual report and the investor presentations, say in your interview that you read those to prepare, because that's really quite impressive. So there's how you ace that question. Let's go on to the next question that is very important, which is, why do you want to work at Foot Locker? Now, obviously, I can't tell you what the answer to this question is, because you are the only person that knows why you want to work here. However, what I can tell you is the things that Foot Locker want to hear, the things that you can say in your interview that will get their interest. They want people that are enthusiastic about the company and that are going to be good employees. So the first thing you do when you're planning your answer, and I recommend you actually bullet point out and plan it, first thing you do is you think about, what do you think you would most enjoy about working at Foot Locker? Why is this the right place for you? Are you very interested in sneakers and trainers and the products that they sell? Are you passionate about sportswear? Do you love working in retail? Do you really enjoy working with customers? Have you successfully worked in stores before? These are things that you can talk about and be clear on the fact that you would enjoy working there. The next thing, think about, how does Foot Locker match your skills and interests? So link to your interest with their brand and the products they sell, and also explain, if you have experience working in retail, why you like working in retail and the skills that you gained, and also explain that you're going to be a good employee here because you've got the right skills. You've worked in retail, perhaps, you're good at working with customers, you're good at meeting new people and interacting with them, you're confident in going up and helping customers, you're very supportive. These sort of skills you can bring in and say that Foot Locker is a perfect match for your skills and experience. Could you build a career here? Are you very ambitious? There's a lot of internal promotions. Do you see that in 5 years' time you may be moving into management, and you think, since Foot Locker is a good, strong, growing brand, that there'll be opportunities for you to build a career at the company? But the most important thing is to be really enthusiastic. When you're answering this, be really enthusiastic about the company and the opportunity, because the more enthusiastic you are, the more it looks like you're really serious about the job. The next thing to do is to look at some suggestions that I'm just going to put up in a second, and pick those that match your interest and match the sort of things that you want to say. So if you've got an interest in sneakers, then definitely mention that. Be clear about that. If you love working with customers, say so. If you know someone who works for Foot Locker currently, you don't have to name them, but if they've told you good things about the company and said it's a great place to work, you can say, I've spoken to people who work here, they've told me that it's a great place to work, and any other facts that they know about the company that's really positive, and you share in their positivity. So you should definitely say that you love the Foot Locker brand, talk about your experiences as a customer and why that's got you interested in working there. You could also say that you love working in retail. You could say that you want to work with a growing company and that you want to have a busy and active job. So these are great things that you can mention in your interview. So pick as many of these as you can, focus on answering those questions that's on my list, and I would definitely spend 10 minutes writing an answer and learn it, because this question comes up about 90% of the time. Almost every Foot Locker interview I've seen, they have asked, why do you want to work here? And you've got to have an answer ready. If you prepare it and learn it, you will go in so much more confident. Now, the next question I want to look at is, what is your favorite sneakers? Or if you're applying in the UK, it may be they ask the question as trainers. And you need to have an answer ready for this question. So let's look at how you actually plan a good answer. It's not just good enough to say, I like the white ones with the tick on them. They're great. They want a bit more. This is their question that's assessing, do you actually know about our products? Are you actually interested in our products? So they want a stronger answer, and you need to be ready for it. So the first thing you have to do is decide on the exact brand and model. That's the first thing you do. Not just, I like the white ones with a tick on them. You have to actually know what brand it is and what specific model. Because if you don't know that, it's not going to go well. The next thing you have to explain is, what do you really like about them? Then I would recommend that once you've chosen your favorite, go onto the brand's website, go onto the Foot Locker website, find them and read what they have written about it. You're not going to be able to describe these better than the very highly paid marketing people that are paid a fortune to make these wonderful descriptions of the product that get people interested. Use the phrases that the companies have, and that will give you a stronger answer. And then you want to really be showing off some knowledge. So I'm going to give you some suggestions of the sort of language that you need to be using to impress them on your answer. And then, did you buy them at Foot Locker? If the answer is yes, make sure you say that in your interview. So when I had a look on, I just chose a random pair of sneakers and just looked at the language they were using. Things like retro inspired, perforated toe, foam midsole, stitched overlays, classic colorway. These are the sort of phrases that they're using in their marketing. So you want to have those and be ready to talk about those in your interview. So, overall, to pass this question, make sure you've read the description on the websites, take their description and use that in your answer, and that will make you sound so much more impressive. The next question you need to prepare for is, tell me a bit about yourself. They may ask this quite casually, and they don't want to hear about your childhood and all these boring details about your whole life. They only care about certain things, and the things they care about is your experience, the qualities that you have, and why you applied. That's how you structure your answer to tell me about yourself. The first thing you talk about is explain your career history. So basically go through each job that you've had, but then also focus on the customer service job. So any jobs you've had where you're actually working with customers, talk more about those and less about jobs that are not as relevant. What you also must do is show off the skills that you gain. So for example, if you worked in a restaurant, you'll have dealt with customer complaints. You will have worked a lot with the general public, with customers. You'll have learned and picked up lots of skills in that job, and you can talk about those. Then any relevant qualifications that you have, now is a good time to mention them. There's certain qualities that they look for in people that they hire, so you can actually start listing those. If you're highly reliable, say that. If you're always very professional, say that. If you're good at working in a team, that's another thing that you can mention. If you're confident in approaching customers, so you've got customers walking around the shop and you're confident enough to go up to them and just ask, do you need any help? Can I help you with anything? Those sort of questions, and you're not timid, that's a good thing to mention. That's one thing that they are looking for. And if you've got great knowledge of the company's products, make sure you say that. Then at the end of your answer, just sum up with a short 1 or 2 sentence explanation of why you actually applied for this job and why you want the job. So you can say things like, I really love working in retail. I'm looking for another customer facing role. I like working with customers. And then you can say, I've got a strong long-term interest in footwear. That's something that you're interested in, and make sure you can back that up with the knowledge. And that's how you ace this question. And so this is another one that you want to be prepared for, and you want to be ready before you go into your interview. The last question that I want to go through is what they will probably ask at the very end, which is, do you have any questions for me? And if you say no, that's a bad answer. So let's have some questions ready. So here's some of my suggestions. Pick 2 or 3, and then you can ask these. So one question you probably do want to ask is, I'm very interested in the position and would like to know what happens next in the hiring process at Foot Locker. So you're basically going to find out when you're going to find out when you've got the job, and you probably want to know that anyway, so do ask it. Then you could say, can you tell me more about the team that I could be working with at this Foot Locker store? That's quite a nice question. So you learn more about the company and where you're going to be working. You could say, what is your favorite thing about working at Foot Locker, and share in their enthusiasm, agree with them and explain why you would really enjoy that. That can be a really positive thing to ask. You could say, is there anything that you would suggest I do now to prepare for starting at Foot Locker if I were to be successful at interview today? And if they suggest that you should do this or do this, make a commitment and say you will do it. The next one is, try to think up one sensible question on the day if possible. So if they say something interview and you wonder about it, you're going to be engaging in a two-way conversation, and you may just think up one question on the day. That can be quite nice as well, a bit of spontaneity. The next thing you have to be aware of is never ask about transfers. That means, can I move to this other store that's closer to my home? That's going to be very, very bad to ask about, because the manager's trying to staff their store, not another store. So that's going to put them off hiring you. Don't ask about extra pay. You're probably not going to be able to negotiate, so don't bother. Then don't talk about, taking holidays or how many holidays do I get, when's my first time off. That's very negative. And if you ask about delaying the start date, saying I can't start for the next 3 weeks because I want to do all these other things, they probably want someone right now. So if you say that, they're probably just not going to hire you. That could stop you getting the job. So I definitely avoid asking about that. So that's how you prepare for a Foot Locker interview. I hope this video was helpful. Please like and subscribe if it was, and post in the comments what questions Foot Locker asked in your interview. And finally, thank you very much for watching.